Hello everyone, thank you for joining me again today. It is time to reinstall the rebuilt front strut assemblies back into the vehicle, and this will largely be the same process as the removal video which I shot earlier, only the process will be done in reverse order. Now along the way I'll include a few bits of additional information, like for example the torque specs for each respective bolt as we're reinstalling, and also I will revisit briefly the topic of aligning the top mounts to the bottom bushings so that we can ensure a smooth, effortless, and successful installation. All right, let's get going. In the last video you saw me cover that area with rust and corrosion inhibitor. And I also used the same product over here to cover these plates so that they're protected, those seating surfaces. And with that in mind, we're almost ready to start. The one extra thing you would want to do is basically make sure that your suspension is as low as possible, like just push it down as far as it would go. This is where you want it as you're reinstalling. And with this in place, we can get started. And just like that, super easy and straightforward, we are in place to tighten the top bolts and the bottom one at the bushing. I'm going to do the top ones first so that I can then address the alignment that we spoke about earlier. Alright, I have them hand tight at the top. I just have them hand tight here. And at the bottom, you can see right there how we have perfect alignment for the bushing. I've torqued down these bolts to 30 Newton meters. The spec is between 26 and 34. So if you go about 30 Newton meters, you should be okay here. And with the top mount in place, when we check the bottom, you can see here that we have perfect alignment of the bottom bushing with the control arm, and we're ready to put the bolt through as long as I just lift the suspension a bit. Now, this is the result of us being prudent and making sure that this alignment is correct at the time of reassembling or putting back together the whole strut assembly, like I covered in the previous video. And in that video, what I said is that, look, if you don't do the alignment right, and this bushing is now sideways, you're going to have a bad day. I kind of still stand by that statement, even though it was rightfully pointed out in the comments that, look, you can just shove in a piece of metal here, maybe a big screwdriver, and twist the bushing, twist the whole shock absorber, and correct the misalignment until you get to this perfect position. And while theoretically that's probably true, and I would suspect many people do it that way, I have a couple of concerns with that particular approach. The first thing is that essentially we need to twist the shock left or right to adjust it, but we now have to counteract the force of the spring because the spring is compressed and the spring is pushing outwards. It's pushing against this plate, which is essentially the shock absorber, and it's pushing against the top mount. So we have to counteract that huge amount of force that's already being exerted on the shock absorber. That's why we cannot just do it with our hands. We can't just twist here and succeed. We have to gain leverage by placing some kind of metal rod here and twisting on the rod. So that's the first concern. The second concern I will demonstrate on the old shock absorber. There are several different types or styles of bushings. For example, here are bushings which are mostly used for sway bars. Here's another type of bushing that is clearly different. And here's a third type of bushing. Those are a little bit closer to what is being used, for example, for control arms. What you notice, first of all, with those, let's say, three different types, is that they are solid and static in a sense that a bolt goes through them and they stay in place. The bushing here at the bottom of our shock absorber is different. And I'll show you that using the old shock absorber. And it is different because once you put a piece of metal here and you start moving, you can see that there is variable geometry here in a sense that the bushing can move in any direction. I'm not sure what the right term for this is, but this bushing is not solid in a sense that it is not frozen static in place. It has the ability to move left and right. Now, for us to twist the shock absorber, we have to apply pressure sideways. Now, the first thing that will happen is this bushing will be brought to its very extreme. So from a central resting position, it will be brought to an extreme. And once it's at this extreme, you have to then keep pushing and applying further force in order to twist the absorber and overcome the force of the spring. So you're taking a component, a brand new component, to its very maximum limit of operation, and then you keep pushing further beyond that in order to correct a mistake or an oversight that basically was not accomplished at the time of reassembling the whole strut. And I just don't see a reason of why I would want to do it this way when there's a much more simpler way to do it at the time of reassembling the strut. So my advice is do it right the first time, do it right during the reassembly process, and then you have absolute peace of mind, just like you saw now as I reinstalled it in the car. Everything lines up perfectly and you have nothing to worry about, and you don't have to disturb your brand new bushing on your shock. By the way, you can probably see how busted and broken this old bushing is. The shielding is completely gone and everything, all the internals are exposed. So yeah, I don't want to help this outer shielding deteriorate any faster than it needs to. All right, let's connect the bolt at the bottom of the shock absorber. Don't forget your washers. You need to have the washers in place. This is the one bolt which did have washers when we disassembled. There we go. We'll Just like during disassembly, the counter at the back, the head of the bolt is 18 millimeters, the nut at the front is a 19, and the nut has self-locking sort of plastic bit at the end built in, so you can't really go with your fingers all the way in. You can start it and then you need to wrench. Now you're ready with the initial light clamping force here. Do not torque the bolt yet. What I would advise you to do is to lift the suspension a bit higher to apply pressure on the bolt, through the bolt onto the shock absorber, so that essentially the hole here is wider than the diameter of the bolt. So you want the bolt resting up, or rather resting down at the bottom of the hole, which kind of simulates the weight of the vehicle being applied down through the shock absorber. Let me try to demonstrate visually what I just explained. I hope that this would make more sense. Please keep an eye on the bottom of the shock absorber and the bolt relative to this metal bracket, which is connected to the lower control arm. Now, at this point, the suspension is fully drooped down. It is hanging in the air. I will start lifting it now with the jack, and take a look at how the bolt and the shock absorber will slightly move relative to that metal bracket. There we go. See that? There we go. And now I'm lifting the whole suspension. Now, if I release the jack, watch now, there we go. You see that very tiny movement at the end? This is what you want to account for. So essentially, you want to raise the suspension up. Let's do it again. Right here. And only when the suspension is under pressure in a way that we simulate the weight of the car bearing down on the suspension components, only then you want to tighten the bolt to the specified 60 to 80 Newton meters. I hope that makes sense. Alright, time to connect the stabilizer bar link. Now, the way I approach this is I first connect it at the top and just let it hang like this. This gives me an idea of the vertical orientation, which I want to keep in mind, because once I tighten the bolt at the bottom, the vertical sort of link will no longer be able to move left or right. Well, it could move partially, but that puts pressure and stress on the rubber here. This does not spin, like it's not meant to spin. So when the bolt at the bottom gets tightened, I want to tighten it in the correct orientation vertically. And that's why I connected the top first. So with the top connected, I can now slide the bolt through at the bottom and start tightening there. The counter at the back, the head of the bolt, is a 13 millimeter. The nut at the front is a 15 millimeter. And the required torque spec here, the recommended torque spec, is between 39 and 55 Newton meters. Alright, for the top bolt of the link, you can hold counter with 18 millimeters back here. The front is a 19 millimeter, which is actually the same size as what you used for the bottom of the shock absorber, and the torque specs are also the same, 60 to 80 Newton meters for this bolt, the same as the bottom of the shock absorber. You're probably noticing that when I was disassembling, I was using power tools. When I reassemble, in general, I avoid using power tools. I do everything by hand just to be a little bit more safe with the process and the threads and the torque and so on. Done and done. All right, this concludes the process of removing the strut assemblies out of the vehicle, disassembling them, rebuilding the top mounts with fresh polyurethane isolators, reassembling the assemblies, and then reinstalling them in the car. We now have an entirely refreshed, rejuvenated suspension when it comes to the actual shock tower. Now, let me show you a couple of things up top here. We're perfectly centered. Everything looks great. One thing I want to point out, you put your caps on, the center is extremely tight because you see this thicker sort of edge here, which is actually a feature of the product. I really like that. It helps with not allowing this rod to stray left and right. But because it is so thick, it is a real tight fit for the center to go in. So you have to kind of force it a little bit, but not to worry, it will go in. And once it's there, it's not coming out. It's pretty tight. So that's one little thing to note. Other than that, everything looks great. You can see the isolators on top are looking pretty. I will check them again when I put the tires on and drop the car on the ground. So I brought the car down, but I also reinstalled the liners, and I didn't realize that they actually cover quite a bit from the spring, and it's now becoming hard to see the isolator at the top. I was able to inspect it and it has not compressed any further. It looks great. Let me see if I can move closer and try to get some footage of it with the phone. Oh gosh. Okay, it's right up there. I hope you can see that, right in the middle of the screen. And yeah, it looks great. There is no additional squishing, bulging, deforming, or anything like that. The isolator so far looks good. It's only been a couple of days, so these are just first impressions, but so far everything is as expected. I'm super excited about this. Looks great. All right. Well, look folks, this was not an overly easy project, but it was not too hard either. I would say if you have the tools, if you have the time, you can definitely do it. Just be patient, be structured in your approach, don't cut corners. If you follow all the steps, you will be successful. It is a relatively straightforward process. It just requires patience and time. So yeah, that's it for me. I hope this was helpful. The entire series, I tried to be thorough, methodical, and sort of lay things out step by step. Best of luck in your upcoming projects, and I really look forward to seeing you again in the following videos. Take care.